The nerve-wracking thing about taking on this role is that I have no reference for it in terms of research. So trying to get into that space and in terms of language and mannerisms, that's been pretty difficult. But I mean, it's been a great challenge so far.
What we really wanted to do was also not exclude any aspect of our population of actors and actresses. So we carefully crafted what actor played which role and what language they spoke. And we made sure that actors who were sort of bilingual could interact with different characters and bring everybody together and speak Xhosa here and speak Zulu there and kind of give it that unity.
What I enjoyed about it was the idea that we could put together a cosmopolitan and eclectic world where even the things that set us apart, like accent, is things that we celebrate and laugh at in terms of the show. So yeah, language is very much a part of the cultural milieu of what we're trying to create here.
Munataka wasimba bakweli manisaidie, eh?
Sibulela kakhulu kuwe ukuthi uziqhamule. Sikule kulizwe lakude enziwe mabwe. Ukuthi xada lo wethu umhlaba. Njengoba yokuzimasa. Xa ikumkani yethu izimanya ngeqhina lomtshato. Nenkosazana yamachawi Thozama.
Asante sana baba. Uqinisekile. Toka.
As far as other challenges, portraying Asili snakes, I don't like snakes, so I had to get over my fear of snakes. I'm very proud of myself. I met Snowy and I'm friends with Snowy, and that was great doing that scene. I'm glad it's behind me though, so yeah.
Honestly, the biggest challenge was probably the nudity. Yeah, that's always awkward.
It's a great challenge, firstly, because I'm a man playing a woman. Being the first male in South Africa to play a woman, it's a point of history, and history is always judged in a certain way, good or bad. But I'm excited about that. Ngiyabona. Intense stink.
Hi, Mom. Building a world that doesn't exist has been enormously creative, but also enormously challenging. I mean, every single costume that we have designed, every single set piece has to have been made and conceived from scratch. Doing something like 11,000 years ago has really given us all collectively the scope to just play. It's been wonderful to be able to collaborate with people who are so experienced and who just bring their own magic and flavor to the whole.
It was months of researching ancient Egypt that went into Blood Psalms and trying to isolate a specific look and feel for the film that was most accurate for its identity, because Blood Psalms is an identity story.
You know, it's very few times that you have a set like we do at the Citadel that we were filming at the moment, where you can point the camera in any direction and it's real. It's simply just real. You walk around the corner, you are the place you need to be in.
I was completely blown away. The attention to detail, I'm still completely in awe of every single day that I walk onto set.
A lot of our light sources have been fire. The big thing with lighting too was we had a lot of props, and in the caves we weren't light flames because they were live caves. So we had to come up with creative ideas of, okay, if we don't have flames, and in this time one would assume that there were only flames, how are we going to light the caves? So we created a green light where we wanted it to look like the Chini people in the caves had harvested bioluminescent water and put it in globes.
I'm very excited to see how audiences grapple and engage this world. I mean, there's a lot of things that people are going to look at and be like, what are you talking about? Do they have guns in that time? Do they have electricity? You know, there's all sorts of things that we challenge in terms of conventions of what people understand of our glorious past.
The first thing Jamel and I discussed was the layout and the look of the 5 kingdoms that we work with within the story.
You have the different cultures, and we have to be able to recognize that, where you came from. So if you see that location, you see that character, you must know immediately he's Chini, he's Akachi, he's Kua. So it's important to recognize that in design.
So we have the Akachi kingdom, that in the old Egyptian times, they were mostly shaven because of plagues and lice and that. So they're the clean-cut kingdom.
For the Akachi Kingdom, we drew on the 15th, 16th century Benin bronzes, which are all in the London museums. All our fabrics are completely natural that you would have found around about that period. The nature of these costumes were not, let's quickly throw it under sewing machine and sew it together. These are handcrafted pieces. That was our bigger challenge, was to source the correct craftsman. We have beadwork for some of our characters like King Lecha. It takes about 12 weeks for one beader to bead up just one shirt. We have about 3 or 4 of those.
The chini was very interesting for me because it was cave dwellers. They have a lot of mud in their caves, a lot of dust, so that would reflect in the hair. We had a lot of dreadlocks, a lot of stone and bone, a lot of lenses, especially for the older people, so they look like they haven't seen the sun in quite a while.
The Chini Kingdom is the kingdom which is really interesting because it's the cast outs of all the other kingdoms. And the big thing there, of course, is that they're shapeshifters as well. So it was a group of people that were just the cast out thrown together. Within that particular kingdom, we wanted to show what is their history, where do they come from. So you will see the costumes are remnants of Achawi, Kua, all the other kingdoms all thrown together there.
Where the tribes lived had a big influence. For instance, the Kua, a lot of scarification in their tribe. With each milestone, you'll have this type of recognition you get on your body.
The Kua tribe is very organic, so it's colorful, war paint, shaved in hair, tattoos, so that was a quite intricate tribe to look at.
The Kua kingdom is pretty much a leather and skin kingdom. Our great warriors, they're bare-chested. We want to show scarification. We wanted to show their physique, understand that these are the great warriors that do travel the plains of Africa. Our Uchawi kingdom is probably what I call our ethereal kingdom. It is a kingdom of, shall I call them, queens, wizards, and witches.
We used a lot of prosthetics. We had to come in and turn some ladies into serpentines, which took 4 hours on each of them almost, that we had to cover them in snake skin prosthetics, paint them green, and then to take it off after everybody's wrapped takes another 2 hours. I think we just tried to push the boundaries as much as possible, which was amazing.
The synergy between the creative departments has been incredible. A very key tool and relationship actually was between VFX and art. So we had a map that everybody referred to. The beginning of it all was hole in the wall and where the citadel was going to be positioned. And then from there, we spread out and worked it out.
So the citadel actually sits above the hole in the wall in the Eastern Cape. We've shot parts of the citadel in different locations. For example, the big dam in Graaff-Reinet is incorporated as a citadel dam, situated at the back end of the city. All of these elements are integral parts of this massive world. What I really loved about shooting in the Eastern Cape is that it just brought a whole other dimension to what we were intending to achieve and what we had already achieved. The epic scale of what we achieved in places like Coffee Bay, as well as just outside of Graaff-Reinet, there's a place called Valley of Desolation. Just the size and the scale of these places make you feel so insignificant, so small. We were able to get an essence of what it could have been like 11,000, 12,000 years ago on this continent or in this world. So we have all sorts of creatures in this show. For instance, we have a creature called the were-hyena. I mean, to build a creature like that, we worked closely with a prosthetics artist called Rob Carlisle and his fabulous team. The collaboration involved the visual effects teams doing design work and modeling, which then went to the prosthetics team, who used 3D molding and printing techniques to create a functional suit so that the prosthetic character can marry to the digital version as close as possible.
There are a lot of scenes with the lion, which is CGI'd, but it requires meticulous planning on set to ensure that we can pull that off.
The minute he stops and sees the lion, you see it too. Tell these ones lay back. Action!
Another fabulous character that we have is a dragon. This dude's name is Saber. One of the challenges that we set for ourselves was with the emissary of God Heka character, played by Thando Tebet. To elevate the supernatural elements of her character, we created a flaming hair effect, and making it as natural as possible was a great creative challenge. Another big challenge for us was basically incorporating our visual effects-based animals, like the elephants, into our real world and having a real interaction. We're talking Cecil B. DeMille epic level. This thing is big. For me, really, the most enjoyable aspect of this is bringing to fruition a passion that I've had for a very, very long time. And that passion really is unearthing a clear past that is screaming to tell a story. If we don't start to project an image of how we see ourselves, someone else is going to do that for us.
What I've witnessed as the producer of this show, looking at the actors, the director, the crew, the creative team, and seeing how empowering it is to be depicting a narrative that is essentially their own or our own. And I think beyond the production scope of telling your own stories, just giving an offering to the world that allows the world to identify differently, or an African child to look at themselves differently. I think that is how we build identity, and I think it's crucial. It's crucial for legacy, it's crucial for pioneering, it's crucial for exporting our culture.
It's a great and incredible story, but also in terms of representation, it's something that we need at the moment in this country.
We've seen Game of Thrones, we've seen Black Panther, but this is another version which is purely African, and it unpacks everything about us as Africans. The story is ours, and let's see how the world shakes.
This might be a project of a lifetime, to be honest, because the amount of rules we're breaking on purpose and creative freedom we have is a tribute to Jamil himself and everybody involved in creating this. They're giving us free range to make the show that we need to make, and it's been a pleasure.
It's a pioneering show and attempts to redefine our very perception of our identity as Africans.
It is a story that is long overdue, and it is a story that is going to give a lot of black people or African people some pride.